Yeah. You want to hold them?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 150. Then a right six over crest. Very long 70. Repeat, left 5 plus 70, then a right forward late, no cut, 100.
Welcome to round 8 of American Rally Association presented by AMSOIL. My name is Tiffany Stone alongside Mike Shaw. Mike, explain where we're at, this amazing area. Obviously you can see the wind a little bit, and walk us through what's happened this morning.
Well, there's obviously been a lot of drama already. We can already see this time starting to roll in. Oliver Solberg putting on a show, putting in some great times. You know, I got a quick second to talk to Craig Drew as he came into service. They had a little bit of, well, they thought first on the road it was going to be a better idea, but unfortunately ended up being the wrong choice. They ended up, when they were doing the seated draw last night, they got to pick their start position, and they chose first on the road. Unfortunately, that just meant that they got the slick condition. They couldn't see the braking points of everybody else, and that means, you know, just they were giving away the best way to take a line to everybody behind them, and ended up causing an issue. We had a little bit of an off with Barry McKenna, but he got back on. He lost several minutes. Just lots of drama out there. Ryan Booth, he ended up having a roll. They're okay. Everybody's out of the car and okay, but the car's up on its side on the stage, and they'll have to get towed back. Looks like it's going to be fixable. He might be able to get back in it, but some challenges for him. Just all kinds of, I mean, it's rally, right? These conditions, we knew they were going to be challenging. These drivers are going to have to really try and play it safe, as some were doing, especially those going for a championship. And that's kind of what David was saying as well. Just, you know, we got to maybe think about the long game, maybe see if we can wrap up the championship here. So, you know, very, very challenging conditions. And yeah, it's been rough out there. As for where we're at here, we're at the waste management stage. Waste management, most of us think of it, oh yeah, it's a dump place, but actually they got this great facility out here. It's really kind of almost like a quarry with all this rock out here, and they've made this road through here for the drivers to race on. And we can see we've got this twisty, turny kind of area that we're going to be showing. It's kind of rough in places, but really fast in others. A little bit of everything, and it's just a lot of fun. Great for spectators. They're going to be up on the hillside looking down, be able to see most of the entire stage. It's just great fun being out here.
Yeah, and what we were talking about with the weather playing such a big factor for the last few days, the rain came through, it got really cold, it got really chilly over at night, and the wind has picked up. Thankfully, we're here at Waste Management where it seems like everything's a little bit, but explain how the weather can change, the leaves falling, how slick they're getting, and how that's also going to change the different stages.
Well, yeah, that's what you know, a lot of the drivers were telling me during the as they're coming into service, was that we're having the conditions were such that areas they thought were going to dry out were more slippery. Areas that they thought were going to be more slippery ended up drying out. So yeah, that's going to probably be the same thing throughout this. A lot of probably adjustments to notes to make sure the next time through they can be a little bit quicker and safer.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned.
You wish you could drive like this? Well, you can at Dirtfish. Get behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru WRX STI or rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZ in our 12 different rally courses. Learn to control a car like never before on any surface, in any condition. We have the programs for every level of driver. What are you waiting for? Visit dirtfish.com.
What's going on, guys? Kevin from Injuku again. Just want to give a huge shout out to the guys at AMSOIL for picking me up, taking me part of the team. Also want to give them a big shout out and thank you for coming out with these super awesome pouches that they use for their gear oil. It makes doing the transmission fills, differential fills super easy. Can literally just kind of fold the bag, squish the bag however you need to, and just kind of, once you get the end.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here at Stage 4, Waste Management, and I'm excited for this. This is something that's so different. Obviously, the cars are just getting off the line. We should be seeing David Higgins and Craig Drew very, very soon.
Yep, they're first on the road, and we should be seeing them here in just a second. You know, again, this is a great little course that it's really for the fans. It's a really great way to be able to see a lot of rally action just right up close. know, one of the things that drivers have told me about this stage, it's one you got to be real careful on, because even though it looks like it's really smooth, it's really rough in spots. You can bottom out, you can get a puncture out here. So this is the one that actually have to be extra cautious on, but it's also one you can make up a lot of time on. Well, this is the first running of this. It's a short version, so they're probably not going to make a lot of time. But on the longer version that we're going to be running later in the day today and tomorrow, that's where they're going to be able to try and make up time on this. And remember, it's going to be about 2 minutes between the first 4 cars we have running today. So first on the road is David Higgins and Craig Drew. Again, I was talking to them. I think they're looking to maybe hold position today. They saw how much that Oliver was kind of pushing to be able to go ahead of them. And with their position being first on the road, just try and be careful and, you know, make sure it's all about the championship for this one. And then maybe we'll see them rip it up at LSPR and just go for the all-out win there. I don't know, but Oliver's definitely showing his stuff out on this one.
Exactly, and what's really nice and unique about this stage, what you're talking about, the different types of terrain that you'll be able to go from 100 feet to 200 feet, it's going to change, and especially starting here, it changes so much into a nice sweeping 180, which is so cool to see it because you're already getting enough action right at the beginning.
Yeah, it's a great place for the spectators to see how the cars can handle through the tight turns as well as through some of the fast stuff. And that's the best part, is like these hairpins. Just see how each one tries to hug that inside and get that fastest line. But it is going to start to rut out a little bit. So keep track. You'll see the lines get a little darker and darker as it ruts out and gets deeper. Because that dark spot, that means it's really digging out as it's getting down to the wet stuff underneath.
And Barry McKenna is making his way right through here. And like we were saying, it's so crazy to see how many different changes you'll have in terrain.
Nice little jump here, too.
What I kind of noticed, it seemed like Barry took a little bit wider line heading out there and tried to kick back, but that's what you're talking about. It's going to get a little bit rutted. It's going to be able to see where those little ruts will start becoming in, and the further we get down, it's going to get a little bit darker and it's going to get a little bit different, and you're really going to have to pay attention to the drive style.
And you might have to change your driving line. Maybe going wider is faster in some cases because, you know, if it starts rutting out too much, that's not where the grip's going to be. It's just going to suck you into that rut and maybe not help you. So you might want to go a little bit wider line. A little bit about Barry McKenna. His off that he had on stage 2, kind of humorous. He went off. He was stuck. And he was actually near the side of the road. To get out, they actually pushed the car back down a ravine between the trees. He puts it into stage mode, launches the car video game style, a la Dirt 4, back onto the road. Co-driver gets back in, they get back going again. They lost 7 minutes, but that's a cool way to recover. I can't wait to see that on board.
No, that would be really great. And like we were talking about Barry McKenna from our last race when we were in Ojibwe, it seemed like Barry also was the only person to take a left-handed turn when we were doing some of those super special stages at the end. So also it kind of shows that Barry does take different lines throughout.
Yeah, he'll definitely, you know, whatever the best line is to get through that, get the fastest way, that might be why he went a little bit wider here. So, yeah, you got to find the fastest line isn't always the traditional racing line.
And what you're talking about, especially with David Higgins taking that first seeded draw for Friday, that's where you were talking about. He hasn't got a chance to see where those brake lines are going to be, those times what they're doing, what lines they're actually taking. So David Higgins is going out there making those marks, and everybody can adjust from there.
Exactly. The others are going to see that. They can kind of use it as a little cheat. Brake here. Maybe I'll brake a little later, and that'll give me a little bit faster time in some cases. So. Ramana Lagaman and Chrissy Beavis in the S12 there. What a beautiful car. Definitely brings back the classic era, back when Petter Solberg was running in the WRC. It's that kind of car, and it's great to see that one out here. Now, they're a little ways back. They're about 3 minutes back, but they're still sitting in what looks like a podium position there. So they're going to have to keep pushing to maintain that, though, because you can bet that Barry McKenna is going to try and push and get his time back. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough one, but he'll try.
Well, what I really like about stage 4 right now is you go from one hairpin to another hairpin to another hairpin. So you have 3 hairpins, and this is exactly what we were trying to show for the spectators, what the vehicles can do, how they can push it, what they're going to be able to do with that inside of there, and what lines they're going to take. And this is a prime example of all of that encompassing into one.
Yeah, and what will be extra interesting to see is maybe how the two-wheel drive cars take it, right? You got the four-wheel drive cars, they got that a little bit extra grip, and the line they take might be very different versus the way the two-wheel drive guys when they start coming through a little bit later. So, yeah, interesting stuff right here, and starting to get a little bit already sloppy in that second hairpin, so that'll be one to watch as well.
Well, and another thing that we have been mentioning is the weather conditions with everything. Obviously, with the rain, it made it a little sloppy and what's picking up. However, with the wind right now, the wind is actually drying out this track or this course right now, this stage. What's happening right now with the wind, it's making it a little drier. It's bringing up that top layer so you get that dust, but also keeping the dust down.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely drying it out a little bit, getting rid of some of the super slick muck that's on top in some places, but other places, that stuff's still sticking around.
Watching Oliver Solberg just drive is amazing. That kid can drive pretty much anything. Talking to him last night at Park Expose, I'm saying, Oliver, you have 3 different cars, 3 different types of rides, 3 different types of drive style, coming off a crazy event with your father, and you have to come back here. And he's like, Tiffany, that keeps me motivated. Knowing that I have to do these things really keeps me motivated, keeps me pushing, and makes me want to win that championship.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, we got the cars coming 1 minute at a time here right after Oliver, but one thing that's also cool is we got Aaron Johnston sitting back next to him. You know, we had Denny Juraday had to come in. There were some issues in trying to get Aaron into the country, unfortunately, just immigration, whatever stuff. So it's great to have his traditional co-driver with him and here at in the States as well, and they're pushing hard and doing well. A little bit of a late entry into that apex of the first hairpin there with Peter Fatella, but yeah, Peter said he was a little disappointed, with his own pace. He's searching for grip, but he's also trying to be careful. Doesn't want to lose it all. Again, he's still in it for the championship, right? He's sitting in second. Something happens to David on actually, here and at LSPR, he very well could win it. So he's trying to adjust between being fast enough to make sure he's right up there, if not on the podium, then near it, and making sure that he's still, fast and careful.
Yeah, Fatella was telling us that this was his very first rally 10 years ago, so it's got to be a great feeling to come back 10 years later and keep going for that and being in the second place right now for the overall points championship.
Well, that's Paul Ferreira in the limited four-wheel drive class. He's sitting third in class right now from what I saw, the results as they started rolling in. He said that he was feeling pretty good out there, but had a little bit of a brake issue, I think. The brakes, I think, were maybe overheating a little bit. So a little bit of an issue, but for the most part, doing well.
Well, what was great, I got to see him on stage 3, so if you head over to our Instagram and Facebook pages, you'll definitely see that. He had a great stage 3 out there, and the way that some of these cars are running with the cooler temperatures, they are just getting faster and faster, and like you said, within each stage, they'll just getting faster and faster and really push it even for tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely, and here we got Cam Steely and Preston Osborne. Second one to almost kind of stall it there in that first corner.
I'm wondering now, like we were talking going into that first hairpin with the apex, if that's starting to get rutted out a little bit more and some of the drivers and everybody is getting caught up right there, and it seems like it because what you were saying, the last 2 vehicles really seem to be doing that. They seem to be getting a little caught up on the ruts that are starting to appear.
Yeah, that's true. And also, Cam, he's one that doesn't like using the handbrake too much. And remember, he had that issue at Idaho. And so he's been definitely looking to try and improve his hand-braking skills when it comes to taking some of these tight corners. So that might have been it on that first one. Thought maybe he could do a Scandinavian flick instead, and it didn't quite work out. But the next corner, he ended up getting it just fine. So I think it was just more about keeping the RPMs up, hitting that handbrake, and pushing. Martin Donnelly in the Fiesta R5. It's the first of our R5s we have out here, and definitely a quick little car. He said that, he's just trying to be careful out there again with the conditions, but he's having a good time, getting more comfortable with it, and yeah, he's wanting to up that pace a little bit for this next loop. Seamus Burke and Martin Brady. I talked to Martin for just a little bit before service there. Their times are looking okay for where they're wanting to be. It's the first time that Seamus has been back in a four-wheel drive car in a while, so definitely he's been having some challenges and getting used to it. But also you're saying that for some reason in the medium speed corners, and we kind of saw there, the power is not quite there. What I'm wondering is maybe some of it has to do with learning how to drive that kind of car versus the high torque kind of instant power he had of the Escort, which had the V6 in it, where this is the turbo car. You got to keep that spooled up a little more and whatnot to keep that power down. There we go. Patty Brennan and Matt James, these are probably two of the guys that have the most experience out here on these stages. We talked to Matt before. He grew up right around here, so he literally lives in Mansfield, just a few miles, about 12 miles away. So he knows these roads really, really well. And as you can see, they hit that hairpin just right. They anticipated those ruts. They braked a little earlier, got a perfect apex on that, even though they're a little bit farther back. So great job on them. They're currently leading the limited four-wheel drive class from last look at the stages.
Well, it's so exciting to see that, exactly what we were talking about. It's pretty much playing out exactly. The stage is becoming very nice. They're understanding where these ruts are going to come. The water is getting a little bit muddier over here with that second, hairpin turn, but it seems like they're really getting a handle on this, and I love being able to look up and see all the different spectators around just watching.
That's Kramer and Smith that are in the first of the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive cars. They had a little bit of an issue, I think, with a puncture on one of the stages earlier. So that means their closest competition, the Ushers, were able to hold back just a little bit and, kind of take it easy. But definitely ones to watch for this weekend. They're going to be really quick. I mean, look at how far up the order they are in one of those naturally aspirated four-wheel drives. All right, the second of the R5 cars here, that is Frank Cunningham. He ended up actually having an issue this morning. He was getting right up to the start of the first stage, and they had a switch with the engine cutoff, the electrical cutoff, and no power. They actually had to come all the way back to service. They never got to run these stages. This is actually his first stage of the day. So a bit of frustration for them, but it's good to have him back out. They'll take some penalties, but you know, he's still getting a little more used to that car. But he's saying he's having a hell of a time, and it's a lot of fun.
For a lot of our viewers out there, when we talk about certain penalties and not being able to run a stage, can you really explain what happens, how many different points that they're going to lose from that?
Well, it's not about points, it's about time. So you get a time penalty. There's basically an automatic time penalty. Oh, hold on just a second. Michael Hooper and Claudia Pullen in that Lexus. Boy, that V6 sounds beastly. I love that car. They're the ones that are definitely in the open two-wheel drive class. You know, now we had that issue with Ryan Booth that went off, had his little bit of a roll. Those are the ones to watch out for in this class, and they're pushing it and they're having a good time. He said that the car is just running really great, and yeah, they're just having a really good time right now. Back to what you were saying though about penalties. Yeah, there's a specific time penalty. For each stage that you miss, there's an automatic time penalty for that stage missed. So they'll accumulate that when they go to rejoin. So that's Nathan and Mariana Usher. They're in the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive there. They said that they're going to be taking a little bit easy now that, we saw Kramer had his issue earlier, so they're kind of holding back a little bit. Plus, they started smelling a little bit of clutch smell in the car. So they're going to have to nurse it till the end of the rally, but they said, just on these hairpins like this and whatnot, just don't go slipping and sliding the clutch too much. Maybe just keep it in first and, shift smooth and just try and make sure you don't burn it up.
It's a lot to do. You're saying don't burn up the clutch, shift smoothly, all while you're still trying to have this amazing rally.
Piotrowski, he's one that was really looking forward to this rally. It's really high speed. He was a little bit concerned about it, but he said that, he actually felt more comfortable out there than he thought. He said, the car's a little underpowered from, versus some of the others out there, but, he just needs to carry a little more speed through those corners, and so he's just having to just adapt and get comfortable with it.
Next up should be Erik Potts. I always love watching Erik. I talked to him yesterday. He was talking about the jumps that they have here at the stages. And with Erik, I was like, Erik, are you going to kind of do what we did at Concord Pond? He's like, Tiffany, honestly, I did not mean to do what we did at Concord Pond. But hey, if it happens, it's all good.
Erik Potts, he's out there again in that supercharged BRZ in the open two-wheel drive class. Just really keep a close eye on his times versus Michael Hooper. It'll be interesting to see how those two end up playing out throughout the rally weekend. Another bit about Michael Hooper, actually, he was telling me this is his first time ever doing his own stage notes from scratch. He's never done it before, but he's looking to come out west next year, and a lot of our events out there, you don't have Jemba notes, and you have to create all your own, so he's trying to get used to that, and he was impressed. He actually ended up having the notes better than what he thought they would be. O'Sullivan and another one of the Evos out here. There's a lot of Evos out east here, and great to see him out. He's said that no major issues. I think the car pretty much just need to be cleaned off and check some tire pressures, and that was it. So, it's great to have an easy service for sure. one of those taking a little bit wider line for one of the local favorites out here, Frog Racing's Keshet and Willard. They're in the limited four-wheel drive class. Again, they were saying that there are no major issues coming into that first service. Another one of the regionals in the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive, Kirsten McKellar. They're ones to watch out for in competing with Piotrowski and some of the others. And that's a highly contested class. There's a whole lot of cars in that. It's a great starter class, the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive cars. Kevin Allen, Elizabeth Cardara, again in that naturally aspirated four-wheel drive. Haven't got a chance to talk to them yet, but for what it looks like, everything's going well with the car. A little careful through that. That's the spirit. That's Fabio Costa and Boyd Smith. It's the first time he's had Boyd Smith sitting next to him. Boyd's got a lot of experience in all these rallies. He was saying that he's been coming around to these rallies out here for 30 years. Though the two are just trying to get gelled up between the two of them, getting used to, working together in the car. But, Fabio, he's been doing these rallies for a couple of years now too, and just really trying to get that driver co-driver gel going on. That's Dunker Felix and Santiago Jarin. They're in the limited four-wheel drive class. As you can see at that first hairpin, there's a big rock that got pulled out, and we might see a little bit more of that as the cars start diving into that corner and it starts digging out the bigger and bigger boulders. So there might be some boulder dodging having to go on. Jordan Guitar and Zach File. They're in the HPD Maxxis Honda there, in the Honda Civic. We haven't seen Jordan out since Oregon Trail, so he said he's just had to, shake some of the cobwebs off. And as you can see, look at the crowd along the hillside there. That's what they call the grassy knoll. It's a great spectator area. Huge, you can see a whole bunch of the stage all from right up there. Car number 170, that's Nick Balzer and Mike Brown. Mike Brown, you might remember him from with the Brown brothers with his brother Dave, normally in a little bit faster car. But Mike said he sat with him at Southern Ohio, and they've been starting to gel together. Him just helping him out, getting more confidence, and that's really kind of the biggest thing for this too. Is Nick's really trying to just learn things and get a little bit more confidence, and that's how he'll up his pace. Car number 141 is Andrew Benson and Zach Stewart. They're in the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive. They're in the national class, actually, so there's quite a few going for national points in this as well. You can see actually a little bit of dust in the background, but there's so much wind out here, it won't be any issue for anybody. Just a little wisps here and there. The Bellevos, they're struggling for grip there in their little rally golf. A little bit of a gap here. Looks like it's getting rutted out farther back there too, taking a safe line. That's Nick Bragg and Dominic DePioli. They're in an Audi S2, so it's great to see an Audi out here. Newer one. You don't see too many of those out there rallying, but great to see that one all set up to come out here and play along. Yeah, they're really having to dance their way around that first hairpin with all the rocks that are being pulled out. Ooh, bogged it down a bit. John O'Sullivan and Shane Farrell. They're in a Ford Fiesta. Great little starter car. They're in that open two-wheel drive class, going for the regional there. Fun little car. Really reliable. Of course, until you put them on their side like Ryan did. But, you know, you don't want to do that if you can help it. Seeing a lot more of those cars coming out here. Those the ones that come from M Sport, whether they're the R2s or the R1s with a kit. Take a regular, you know, Ford Fiesta you buy in the store, bolt the kit on. Just a great way to get started in rallying. They got a little bit of tail on that car. Number 554, Jeremy Keck and James Quattro. Now that's a good last name to have to go rallying, isn't it? So Jeremy Keck and James Quattro, they're in the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive. We've got a couple more here coming through. Whew, it is getting chilly out here with this wind.
It's getting super chilly like we were talking about earlier. The wind's just going to keep picking up, and this is the big variable that's going to be here at the weekend for this race. It's what is the weather condition going to be, because that's going to determine the rest of the race, how you're going to set up, and of course, tire choice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously you want that kind of the softest choice, but then again, if it dries up enough, maybe you want to go to a medium compound or something else.
And that was a great corner from Derek James and Jesse
Apostolakis. Yeah, Derek James, that's actually Matt James' brother. So Matt James is the co-driver for Patty Brennan, and Derek James, that, you know, he gets to come out, this is home rally, and play around on this one. He knows these roads real well. He's having a really good time.
Well, we're going to end up on that one since that was such a great last turn right there for the egg packs. We're going to go head out and go check out some more stages. We will be right back. Make sure to follow us all weekend long, including today at the ARA app. You'll be able to get live timing, scoring, updates, photos, pretty much everything. Once again, I'm Tiffany Stone, Mike Shaw for American Rally Association.
Do you wish you could drive like this? Well, you can at Dirtfish. Get behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru WRX STI or rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZ in our 12 different rally courses. Learn to control a car like never before on any surface, in any condition. We have the programs for every level of driver. What are you waiting for? Visit dirtfish.com.
What's going on, guys? Kevin from Manjuku again. Just want to give a huge shout out to the guys at Amsoil for picking me up, taking me part of the team. Also want to give them a big shout out and thank you for coming out with these super awesome pouches that they use for their gear oil. It makes doing the transmission fills, differential fills super easy. Can literally just kind of fold the bag, squish the bag however you need to, and just kind of, once you get the end into the actual fill port of the transmission, you can just flip it upside down, squeeze everything in there. There's no mess, there's no drip, and it just makes life super easy.
Your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or